Arctic Bionics P120 Review. Arctic have been around for a while now, best known for their cooling products, particularly the MX series of thermal compounds in the freezer range of CPU coolers. Today we look at one of their new 120mm fan offerings, the Bionics P120. This new fan is optimized for increased static pressure, making it useful on heatsinks and radiators, while other refinements include reduced power consumption through the use of a neodymium iron boron magnet motor, decreased motor vibration with clever magnet placement and, perhaps best of all, an extended lifespan via reduced operating temperatures. The P120 utilizes the PWM connection standard, allowing a range of 200 to 2100 RPM as well as an idle mode, which stops the fan completely when the PWM signal drops below 5%, ensuring absolute silence when the system doesn't require airflow. The Bionics P120 will be available early December, black and white or black and red, with a price tag of $13.99/$15.99. The specifications certainly sound promising, so let's take a closer look and see how it performs. Part of the appeal of owning your own computer is the control we have over which components we choose, lending several hours of research to seemingly insignificant components, such as cooling fans, but the truth is, they can be incredibly important in terms of noise and heat dissipation. Keeping components cool can lead to a longer product life as well as fewer issues due to thermal throttling and software crashes. The Arctic Bionics P120 has presented itself as a very capable fan, pushing vast amounts of air and performing remarkably well in our temperature tests while also remaining relatively quiet. The fan itself seems to be well engineered, with a solid frame and impeller, along with the rubber corners to reduce vibration and in turn, noise. The Bionics arrives on the shelves at $13.99/$15.99. So it's not exactly cheap but certainly worth considering for your build if quiet and cool operation is something you desire, especially with that 10-year warranty on offer. Arctic have always been known for their budget products that pack a punch, with the Bionics P120 being no different. We'd be happy to recommend these to a friend. Pros: appealing color schemes, great performance, decent noise levels, good build quality, 10-year warranty. Neutral, not the quietest, if that's what you seek. Cons: none. Asus TUF Gaming H5 Review. If you're familiar with the PC and gaming industry, you'll more than likely have heard of the TUF products from Asus. The TUF brand originated quite some time ago with some early 990FX motherboards showcasing the TUF logo and name. Sometime later Asus decided to make the TUF brand more premium with motherboards like the Asus Sabertooth Z170 MK1 and Sabertooth Z170S. This higher-end status lasted a few generations until Asus's Strix and ROG line became more prominent as their higher-tier offerings. Fast forward to today, and the TUF brand does still exist in today, though it has seen a slight shift towards the lower end and mid-tier of the market. However, Asus has not completely pushed the TUF line to the side, as now they've created the TUF Gaming Alliance, which features not only themselves but also other big players in the industry. This alliance now works closely together to create TUF branded hardware and peripherals. Some notable partner companies include Guile, Antec, Cooler Master, Corsair, G.Skill and so many more, and these have all provided their expertise to release hardware such as CPU coolers, power supplies, RAM and cases. Today we'll be taking a look at one of Asus's own TUF products, which takes the shape of their TUF Gaming H5 headset. The Gaming H5 is a versatile headset that can be used not only on PC but also Mac, console and even mobile. Some of its core attributes include some 50mm Essence drivers, onboard 7.1 virtual surround sound, a dual microphone setup and support for their Armoury software. At the start of the review, we asked one simple question, and that was: do the Asus TUF Gaming H5 do enough to stand out from the crowd? The answer is, on some fronts, yes, and other, no. One area where the TUF H5 does stand out is with the design, as these are different to the usual super clean headsets we've been seeing lately. The aesthetic really does fit the TUF brand without going too over the top, though the styling choices are likely to divide opinion. The build is another area where they fare well, as most of the headset is well made. One build area that they do fall down on is the finish, as in places it does scuff and mark quite easily. Comfort is another strong suit, as they are very comfortable, though not as comfortable as the Cooler Master MH752 we recently reviewed. The TUF H5 fare better than most. The sound is another key area where these score, as well as the quality is good. Bass is a touch lacking, though this can easily be fixed in software. The treble is nicely clear and detailed, and the vocals are good too. For gaming, they perform really well too, as the treble allows you to easily pinpoint your enemies and sounds that could give away their tactics. Another good core attribute is that TUF H5's cross-platform support. This extended support means that not only can these be used on PC, but also on console as well as a mobile. The final strong card that these plays is on the software front, as Armory 2 is one of the most comprehensive suites we've ever used. It's also really nicely designed and easy to use, which makes it that much more enjoyable. Where the H5 do start to crumble is with the microphones. The inline one is very quiet and slightly muffled, whereas the boom one is better, but still not that great. The final small drawback is with the dongle. This dongle connects via USB and has a very short cable. This is fine for use with a laptop, but if you're using a PC that so happens to be slightly away from where you are sat, then it becomes a bit of an issue to use. Of course, you could just set it and leave it, but it would be nice if it was more usable on the fly. Overall, for 85 GBP and $169 in Australia, the TUF H5 is a solid all-around headset with some strong attributes and some slight drawbacks. If you can live with those minor issues, then the TUF H5 is a good headset for gaming as well as using more casually. Furthermore, if you're a big fan of the TUF Alliance and own multiple TUF branded products, then this is a great way to show your allegiance and keep your system cohesive. The Asus TUF Gaming H5 is a fine addition to the TUF Alliance thanks to a solid gaming performance, TUF styling and great comfort. Pros: comfortable, strong sound quality, great software, cross-platform support. Inline controller is a nice addition. Neutral, mix aren't the best quality. Styling is likely to divide opinion. Cons: dongle isn't ideal for PC use due to short cable. Corsair K70 RGB MK.2 Mechanical Gaming Keyboard Review. Not that long ago, Corsair decided to give some of their older keyboards a second lease on life, which is what has us here today. With these products, they keep a similar size, overall design, and shape, yet have been gone over again to improve upon things that may not have worked so well, or by adding features that were not yet available at the time they originally appeared. Many times, when something like this happens, some companies will put lipstick on the pig and call it a new product, but with what we see in the MK.2 products being released, you are looking at something new, even though it shares names with much older products from their lineup. When it comes to looking for a new keyboard, many have different expectations. However, the bottom line comes down to 3 or 4 things. First is the layout, whether you want a full assortment of keys, or if you prefer no number pad, or even possibly fewer keys than that. The second usually comes down to the type of switch, and the majority of keyboards have moved to mechanical switches of some flavor over the soft rubber dome options. Extra buttons are usually good as well, whether it be for multimedia use, lighting patterns, or being able to lock the keyboard from use. All of them have their place. On top of the form and features, you also need an impressive software suite to deliver the utmost in control and customizability. If the majority of these things are checking boxes with your desires in a new keyboard, we have a feeling that the latest keyboards from Corsair will be right up your alley. While we missed out on the original version of this keyboard many moons ago, we did see one of the later options with the K70 Rapid Fire. At that time, which is nearly 3 years ago, we found the keyboard to be well worth the effort, and we highly recommended it with an Editor's Choice Award. Times have changed, however, and expectations of what we see on a regular basis are much higher now, So Corsair has quite the task ahead to impress us at the same level now. As we look at the Corsair K70 RGB MK.2 mechanical gaming keyboard, we will see many changes afoot, and we feel there is plenty to keep even the most discerning user happy. Unlike with some other Corsair products, the specifications chart offered on site is thorough, and describes the majority of things most buyers want to know. The left column starts with stuff like the 2-year warranty, its 1.25 kilograms of weight, and the fact that it is RGB backlit. We then find things like its 1000 Hz polling rate, use of Cherry MX Blue switches, although there are red, brown, speed, and silent options too. There is a USB pass-through port, there are 104 keys, the keyboard is wired, has adjustable feet, and comes with extra MOBA and FPS keycaps. We then see things like multimedia key presence, the fact that the type and product family is of the K70 variety, and that there are NKRO and anti-ghosting support. The cable that connects the keyboard to the PC is USB 2.0, and comes with a braided cover on it. There is the onboard memory to house not only the colors you want but also gives it the ability to control 3 profiles. There is also a Windows lock key to remove keyboard functionality, there is a wrist rest for added comfort, and all of the controllable features utilize the newer QU unifying software. There is one other thing that cannot be seen in the chart, which we feel needs addressed. If you would like, there is an SA version with a gray frame and white keycaps, and you also have the option for an all-black model with low-profile switches and keycaps to choose from as well, all under the K70 RGB MK.2 name. Pricing can be confusing dependent on the model and switch type you want to own. If you want the version we are showing off today, the standard K70 RGB MK.2 with Cherry MX Blue switches, you can opt to go through Corsair at $159.99. There is no sign of this model on Noog yet, but Amazon does have it for $169.99. For those looking for another switch type, pricing gets cheaper for most of those offerings, even down to the range of $139.99. Bluntly put, the K70 RGB MK.2 gaming mechanical keyboard is a fierce competitor. Going through the features shown on the box, there is not one of them that does not get a check in the Pro column. The additional parts like the wrist rest, keycaps and key puller tool all do what they are supposed to and are easy to work with. The lighting is some of the best on the market at this time. With so many preset options and the ability to map out the lights to any idea that looks good on keys, we could not ask for more. We have never had much issue with Cherry MX switches, unlike with other brands' keys randomly dying on us. No matter your choice of which to fill the K70 RGB MK.2 with, you are getting some of the best switches in the game right now. Size is standard, weight is a tad on the heavy side, but it is structurally sound, and we have not run into issues with resonance or vibrations in our fingertips. With nearly a dozen changes to the keyboard since we last saw it, this reiteration is well worth the time it takes to look over what the K70 keyboard has become. At first, QU looks to be simple, and while easy to manage and navigate, the layers of options make this unified software suite to all Corsair products well worth the look around. In there you can add profiles, choose which to use with the onboard memory, and have your keyboard set up for your favorite games. Beyond that, there is the Actions menu, which has some of the most detailed options in software. It will record anything from time delays to keyboard presses, even mouse movements, so nearly any command is possible if you have the patience to set it up, test it, and make any changes to it to get it perfect. iQUE is also where you can go to tinker with the lighting, and for those of you with Far Cry 5, yes, the keyboard still auto-loads a profile for that game. Beyond that, the software is also where you can address firmware revisions, which Corsair is known to put out after the product launches and ships with the default firmware of that time. Not only did we thoroughly enjoy using the K70 RGB MK.2, but we also had a blast trying our hand at custom lighting profiles and assigning rations to macros just to see it work. It has been a while since we can recall a keyboard that has us glowing about it as we are here. As usual, there is still one factor to consider, the cost. There have been many times in the past where we have called out companies for asking too much for a product, but to be honest, we do not feel that is in any way the truth for this keyboard. The Corsair K70 RGB MK.2 with whatever switches you choose will do anything you ask of it. About the specific version of the keyboard we have, the $169.99 price at Amazon is not out of line. Many keyboards, including earlier versions of Corsair keyboards, have asked this much or more, but it is rare that you get this much bang for the buck. If you would like the low-profile version, the price is similar, but expect to pay up to $10 more for the special edition. That being said, the K70 MK.2 gaming mechanical keyboard is one that should not be passed up on. Corsair delivered the goods, and even with a name of years gone by, the product could not be any more up to date, and the changes made along the way are well thought out and worth the effort. There is no way to lose in this deal. MSI Z390 Gaming AJC, Intel Z390, Motherboard Review. Aesthetics: the motherboard features decent heat sinks, and the good news here is that the metal part of one section of the VRM heatsink covers up the rear I/O. The motherboard also has addressable RGBs on the backside of the right of the motherboard, and it creates a nice reflection of the rainbow. Next up we have both RGB and addressable RGB LED headers and even a Corsair specific header. Audio: MSI's audio implementation here is quite good. Testing results show the implementation of the ALC1220 is solid and the audio capacitors and physical PCB divide produce good results. The extra amplifier is nice as well, so you will get your front panel audio amplified. Intel NICs: while the 1x1 Wi-Fi is from Intel 9462, is rated up to 433 Mbps, it's the latest generation. The Intel wired NIC is also a solid choice. Rear USB count: while the rear I/O has both USB 3.1 Type-C and Type-A, there are only a total of 5 USB ports on the rear I/O, and 2 of them are USB 2.0 and 2 USB 3.0. MSI should have stacked the DP and HDMI ports and added in 2 more USB ports. Final thoughts: MSI's Z390 Gaming AJC is priced right at the $189 mark, and while there is a lot of competition at that price point, the MSI Z390 Gaming AJC holds up. It offers a variety of features, and the VRM, while not the most robust, gets the job done. Fan control is one other aspect we didn't mention earlier, but the board has a high number of fan headers, which will help you use more fans to cool down the system. Overall, we were impressed with certain specific aspects of the motherboard. Z390 motherboards are expensive by default, and finding a good value under $200 can be hard. You should give the Z390 Gaming AJC a look if you are in that price range. MSI MPG Z390 Gaming Pro Carbon Review. MSI is in the house with their new MPG Z390 Gaming Pro. This motherboard has been fitted with 2 M2 slots, a lot of connectivity, as well as pretty nice looks with a new shroud over the VRM heatsink. It is priced in the US175/euro bracket. It's a motherboard that offers a bit more value overall yet has all the features you probably seek for a Z370/Z390 motherboard platform. The motherboard has been fitted with the usual suspects, including a gigabit-based Ethernet jack and, on the board, you may house 2 M2 SSDs of which one is shielded. MSI motherboards these days are sorted into 4 categories: the MEG series, MPG series, MAG series, and PRO series, with MEG being short for MSI Enthusiast Gaming. This MPG board is positioned in a mainstream to a higher-end region of the DIY PC desktop segment. It does look very MSI styled with the carbon feel, stuff we like of course. Have a peek and then let's head onwards into the review, my man. With the MSI MPG Z390 Gaming Pro Carbon, aside from a way too long name, little is wrong. At the $170/180/euro marker, it offers a more value proposition. And albeit that kind of cash isn't value, it, however, is a more valued product within the Z390 range, GAPIS. Granted though, And I already mentioned it before, the Z390 remains to be a bit of a mystery release. It is a small step upwards with merely adding native USB 3.1 Gen 2 and Wi-Fi, and it's better optimized on the VRM area to deal with the new 8-core processors. The looks are nice, it offers baseline performance, pretty good dock potential, and offers a very decent VRM design as well. Also, we like the option to install 2x M2, however, feel using just one heatsink on the primary M2 slot is a little shy. The PCB is clean, everything is dark, and the new heatsinks work out really well as looking really nice. Paired with that Core i9-9900K, the combo does feel like proper infrastructure, really nice. Overclocking wise, we reach roughly 5.1-5.2 GHz on all 8 cores, 100% stable on our sample. You'll likely see some CPUs hit 5.3 and others 5.0, but it is along this range. With these 8 cores and 16 threads proc, you get a 95-watt TDP processor. With the system at idle with a GeForce RTX 2080 installed, 16GB memory, SSD and the Z390 motherboard, I hovered at roughly 60 watts in idle. That's okay, the load values are okay as well, but definitely higher. When we stress the processor 100% run, we reach roughly 200 watts with this 8-core part. That's the entire system. That is on the high side, alright. Then again, does anyone actually care about it when you get performance metrics like shown today? For Coffee Lake S, 8th and 9th Gen Intel procs, and DDR4, we always say, volume matters more than frequency. A 3200 MHz kit, for example, is more expensive and does offer better bandwidth, but the performance increase in real-world usage will be hard to find. Unless you transcode videos over the processor a lot. As always, my advice would be to go with lower clock DDR4 memory with decent timings, but get more of it. Don't go for 8 GB, get 2 or 4 DIMMs and in total a minimum of 16 GB. The reason we test at 3200 MHz is simple, we do the same for AMD Ryzen and want to create a fair and equal playing ground for both. 3200 MHz is, however, a very nice equilibrium for both processor brands. We tested multiple Z390 motherboards, all with the latest BIOS. Once tweaked, we noticed that the 8 cores like a bit of extra voltage. We expect all core tweaks in the 5.1-5.2 GHz marker to need 1.35 volts on the processor. While that does increase power consumption, it wasn't something that scared me away. Some platforms will, and procs will also be able to manage a lower voltage. If you plan a tweak at that 5.2 GHz marker, then remember my remarks on cooling. You will need LCS, or a very good heat pipe cooler. Again, we have been using an S sample, so I cannot say anything conclusive on the final retail products. These might run a tiny bit cooler. The infrastructure that Z390 offers is easy to use. You increase the CPU voltage and multiplier and you are good to go. Another plus for the Intel platform is that over the years they have been able to refine their memory controllers. Pop in anything XMP 2.0 and you have a 90% chance it'll work straight out of the box with very fast memories. Mind you that all our tests are performed at 3200 MHz DDR4, similar to Ryzen and Threadripper, to remain objective and for fair play on both sides. Realistically though, Ryzen is more memory frequency dependent in gaming than Intel is. The MSI MPG Z390 Gaming Pro Carbon is an nice board. Again, MSI, the naming is getting way too long and I find the MAG/MEG/MPG branding confusing. Overall, it's all green lights for features, albeit the lack of a heatsink on one of the M2 slots makes the PCB more exposed. We also miss out Wi-Fi and perhaps a faster Ethernet jack, 2.55 or 10 Gbps. Other than that, there's little to complain really, support for SLI and Crossfire, and an ALP 1220 audio codec with S, diff and 2 M2 slots. Out of the box, performance and compatibility are good. Tweaking is simply put extremely easy on the MSI motherboards with a lesser voltage needed opposed to some of the competition. Recommended. We expect this board to sell in a 170-180 domain. Logitech G Pro Wireless Mouse Review. The Logitech G Pro Wireless is the company's new flagship gaming mouse. But rather than be packed with bells and whistles like some of its previous mice, the Pro is all about being a top-quality wireless gaming peripheral without all the added extras. The new Logitech G Pro Wireless is certainly a different kind of mouse to the flashy gaming rodent we are used to seeing. It doesn't have tons of buttons, there's no weight adjustment system, and the design are also pretty simple, with just a single RGB zone. Crucially, though, Logitech has included its latest sensor and wireless technology. Its new Hero, high-efficiency rated optical sensor is highly regarded, while its Lightspeed wireless tech is supposed to be the first wireless tech to truly deliver the same responsiveness as a wired mouse. The Logitech G Pro Wireless is undoubtedly one of the best gaming mouse you can buy. On every single front it delivers perfection, or as close to as is meaningful. For a start, its deceptively simple ambidextrous design is supremely comfortable, and combined with its interchangeable side buttons and astonishing low weight, it makes for a mouse that should suit the vast majority of serious gamers. You can never guarantee how someone will react to the shape of any given mouse, but we feel this is as universal a design as you can reasonably get, assuming you don't mind mice that are on the smaller side. Then there's the excellent tracking performance provided by the Hero sensor. Nearly all top gaming mice now have all but flawless performance, so this isn't a revelation, but nonetheless we simply could not pick fault with the tracking of this mouse. The only possible issue is that Logitech's software doesn't let you adjust lift-off distance. Capping this off is the wireless performance of the G Pro Wireless. It provides a responsiveness that rivals wired mice, and we'd be happy to use it in a competitive scenario. All this, and the mouse will last for double the length of time between charges than previous Logitech wireless mice. The only potential stumbling blocks with this mouse are the lack of a quickly accessible DPI button, the rather dull styling, and the price. Neither of the first two feels like a major issue to us, though mouse preferences do of course vary. Lastly, the price certainly does feel expensive, especially with the very pared back approach Logitech has taken with the styling, build materials, and button selection. The replaceable buttons make up for this somewhat, but we still feel a price closer to $100 would be more appropriate. Pros: great ambidextrous shape, versatile removable side button system, superb Hero sensor, true wired rivaling Lightspeed wireless performance, long battery life, 80 grams weight. Cons: expensive, not the most exciting to look at. No DPI button on top won't please everyone. Intel Core i5-9600K review. It used to be that Core i5 processors represented the best choice for mainstream users looking for value-oriented pricing, high performance, and modest power consumption. But now, fast Ryzen 5 CPUs often prove superior. Intel did increase the core count of its Coffee Lake-based Core i5s by 50% to grapple with AMD's first-gen Ryzen 5 chips. However, the latest round of Ryzen 5 models is even faster, particularly in threaded workloads. Intel's 9th-gen Core i7 and Core i9 processors come with more cores, too. Unfortunately, the Core i5-9600K we're reviewing today does not. It includes the same 6 cores as its predecessor, along with a price tag that lands between Ryzen 5 2600X and Ryzen 7 2700. Worse, both competing CPUs are bundled with coolers, while Intel makes you buy your own. Intel's 9th-gen Core i5-9600K is so similar to the 8th-gen Core i5-8600K that it does little to change the family's competitive position against AMD's Ryzen lineup. Similar to the original Coffee Lake model, Core i5-9600K gives you 6 physical cores without hyperthreading technology, plus 9 MB of L3 cache in a similar 95 watts package. The company does throw in slightly faster base and multi-core turbo boost frequencies, enabled through the use of solder-based thermal interface material to help with heat. In the chart below, we plot gaming performance using average frame rates and a geometric mean of the 99th percentile frame times. a good indicator of smoothness, which we then convert into a frame per second measurement. Bear in mind that we tested with the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 at 1920 by 1080 to alleviate graphics imposed bottlenecks. Differences between our test subjects shrink at higher resolutions. The Core i5-9600K is the fastest gaming chip in its price range. But the performance advantage you get over an overclocked Ryzen 7 2700 or Ryzen 5 2600X might not justify spending extra money or sacrificing performance in other tasks. We know from experience that Intel's Core processors dominate when it comes to web browsing, gaming, and Office apps. But the Core i5-9600K isn't as competitive in heavily threaded benchmarks like ones that involve rendering. AMD's $299 Ryzen 7 2700 comes with a bundled cooler. That gives it a leg up on the $270 Core i5-9600K, which doesn't include a thermal solution. In both cases, you'll want something beefy sitting on top of the heat spreader for a shot at an aggressive overclock. You also get 8 cores and 16 threads from the Ryzen. But it really needs tuning in order to keep up. Taking a small step down, the $225 Ryzen 5 2600X costs less than the Core i5-9600K and, again, comes with a heatsink fan. However, you lose some performance in lightly threaded tasks in exchange for a lower price tag. Intel's 9th Gen Core CPUs add the benefit of solder-based thermal interface material. Aside from enabling higher multi-core turbo boost pins, the improved heat transfer didn't seem to do much for our tuning efforts. Maybe our sample is simply subpar. But we think it's more plausible that Intel already squeezed most of the headroom out of this chip and its 14nm process. Fortunately, even a modest air cooler is fine for stock operation. The Core i5-9600K's relatively tame power draw is a good fit for mainstream motherboards. Just remember that you need a Z-series platform in order to overclock. Choosing between a Core i5-9600K and Ryzen presents the same conundrum we've faced in the past. It depends on the type of software you run most frequently. If you're a gamer who doesn't really venture beyond 1920 by 1080, Intel's Core i5-9600K is the chip for you. But if a majority of your workloads are threaded in nature, including content creation and productivity, a powerful Ryzen gets you more performance at a competitive price. Pros: single-threaded performance. Gaming performance. Unlocked multiplier for overclocking. Cons: no bundled cooler. Requires Z-series motherboard to overclock. The Core i5-9600K is an iterative update over the previous gen model. But if you're shopping for a new processor, it does provide enough of a performance improvement to merit attention. The processor clearly provides the best performance for gaming at its price point, though AMD alternatives are enticing if you're more interested in productivity applications. Corsair Force Series MP510, 960GB, Review. Corsair has adopted a close partnership with SSD controller manufacturer Phison in recent times. The older Neutrons teamated with the Phison S10 while the newer Force MP500 used the Phison PS5007E7 controller and paired it with Toshiba 15nm MLC NAND. Performance was solid, especially in sequential mode, though capacity was limited to 480GB. Just last month, Corsair announced the Force MP510. The incremental model number gives little away, but this new headline SSD is equipped with a newer, faster controller, speedier NAND, and an extra dollop or two of performance. Nice. The controller is replaced by the latest generation PS5012E12, while Phison's close partnership with Toshiba results in the adoption of the firm's latest 64-layer 3D TLC NAND. The use of this new memory is important because it enables customers such as Corsair to increase the capacity whilst also reducing the cost per gigabyte of its premium drives. Consequently, the Force MP510 is available in common capacities between 240GB and 1920GB. And it is also why the pricing for Corsair's best ever SSDs is competitive. About 220 is the going rate for a 1TB ultra-fast model, and Corsair plays in the same field as, say, the WD Black NVMe, Intel SSD 760p, and is a bit cheaper than the Samsung 970 Pro. Physon's E12 controller cranks up the sequential and random IOPS speed by using an 8-channel interface to the NAND. Though the initial slew of drives will run with the aforementioned Toshiba TLC memory, the controller can also connect to cheaper QLC NAND and when that becomes more widely available. Good news for the enthusiast is that SSD prices are dropping. Better supply, newer technology that adds more bits per cell, and renewed competition has driven the financial outlay for a 1TB drive for less than $120. Not bad, but premium performance still dictates spending more. Corsair now plays in this territory with the new and improved Force MP510. Equipped with a faster controller and better NAND, it's a significant step up from the MP500, and good enough to challenge the fastest consumer NVMe drives around. Excellent endurance, quality performance, and decent warranty enable the Corsair MP510 960GB drive to garner our recommended award. The good, super fast performance, 5-year warranty, excellent endurance. The bad, basic info app. HyperX Savage Exo Portable SSD Review. The HyperX Savage Exo is a slim portable storage device powered by an internal M.2 SSD with 3D TLC NAND chips. You can get an Exo in 2 capacities from 480GB, like the one in this review, and 960GB for those needing a little more in the storage department. Portable storage devices need to be connected, and the Exo features a USB Type-C connection on the device and comes with 2 different cables to match how you plan to use the drive. One is Type-C to Type-C while the other is a more traditional Type-C to Type-A. These are specially designed to offer the fastest transfers and measure in at 12 inches each. As a size comparison, I have the HyperX Savage Exo positioned next to a Toshiba portable hard drive. The Toshiba is a standard 2.5 drive with a USB 3.0 interface, while the HyperX Savage Exo supports USB 3.1 Gen 2 and will work with just about every system on the market, including PC, Mac, Linux, Xbox One and PS4. You will also get reverse compatibility with older systems, including those using USB 2.0. Of course, I can talk about the benefits of a portable M.2 SSD over the USB 3.1 Gen 2 interface. One of the biggest questions I get when it comes to portable storage is, what drive should I get? Which is a valid question with a number of answers. Flash drives are everywhere, and their size and price really appeal to the modern consumer. However, as our benchmarks have shown, a flash drive is pretty good at reading data but horrible when it comes to writes, meaning that once you get the data on the drive it can be quickly accessed. It just takes forever to get there. I realized this early on and have been using a portable hard drive for all of my large data transfers, thinking it was enough. Much to my surprise, the external HDD might be good at transferring large files, but you are limited by how fast the drive is, and when it comes to lots of small files it clearly begins to choke. This is likely an issue of the interface over the drive, but still a pretty big problem. In this review we looked at the HyperX Savage Exo Portable SSD. And as the benchmarks show, it is clearly the solution everyone should be using when it comes to large data transfers. The 500 megabytes per second reads and writes can clearly take advantage of the USB 3.1 interface, and it can handle random data transfers as well. The drive comes with 2 sets of USB 3.1 Gen 2 cables and is small enough to be carried in anywhere. You will get a 3-year limited warranty and free technical support. Be sure to check out hypersgaming.com for more HyperX gear and use the Amazon links below if you are looking to buy good things. Portable, fast data transfers, USB 3.1 Gen 2 support, 2 USB cable options, M.2 SSD with 3D TLC NAND. Bad things: the USB cables are rather stiff and will move the drive around. Activity light is on the edge you don't normally see. Battlefield v Tides of War Force RTX DirectX Ray Tracing Review. NVIDIA has since been deeply involved with DICE in performance optimization of the DXR reflections settings in Battlefield V and promised users up to 50% frame rate increments that make the game more playable at higher resolutions with DXR enabled. DICE was scheduled to update Battlefield V on the 5th of December with the Tides of War, Chapter 1, Overture update, which includes a new single-player war story called The Last Tiger, probably making it the first single-player video game ever that depicts playing from the perspective of a Nazi officer, a new multiplayer map called Panzerstorm, the much-needed test range for multiplayer gamers, company gear, and various in-game items, such as new, reach-and weapons. Along with this update, DICE released the DXR Reflections Performance Optimization it co-developed with NVIDIA. Just like before, DICE's implementation of DXR is limited to realistic reflections. Don't expect a fully ray-traced game. You can enable or disable DXR reflections and adjust the quality of DXR reflections. In this supplementary article, we are testing the GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, RTX 2080, and RTX 2070 with DXR enabled across the mini DXR reflection quality settings in 3 resolutions: 1080p, 1440p, and 4K Ultra HD. We will carry over our RTX soft data obtained on the older version of Battlefield V from the older article. The new GeForce 417.22 WHQL drivers were released with code that makes these optimizations work. These drivers are mandatory for the latest Battlefield update, so we tested our GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, RTX 2080, and RTX 2070 samples with these drivers. The first attempt at DXR on Battlefield V ended in a colossal disaster, which even had some of our readers write off the technology completely. One of the comments that really stuck out read, "Goodbye ray tracing, see you in a decade." Much of that public hate was justified at the time because everybody expected the performance impact of RTX to be around 20% at most, while producing eye candy that justifies the performance hit in 20 to 30% generational price hikes for NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 20 series over the predecessor. It particularly pinched those who shelled out upward of $600 on graphics hardware only to find that the game was barely playable at 1080p with DXR enabled. We are happy to report that the barrels of midnight oil burned in Stockholm and Santa Clara have paid off to produce significant performance improvements. The Ultra and High DXR reflections quality settings now yield performance numbers matching the low setting from the older version of Battlefield V. In fact, at 4K UHD, the two are marginally better. The medium and low settings come with progressively higher performance than Ultra and High. DICE also fixed the bug which caused the medium setting to never get applied, and the performance difference between settings is generally bigger, which gives you better control over performance versus fidelity. Coming down to the numbers, at the lowest setting for the RTX 2080 Ti, there is still a 38% performance penalty at 1080p, which narrows down to 30% at 4K UHD. This means that 30% is the bare minimum performance cost of DXR at this time. The RTX 2080 Ti can now cope with all resolutions, including 4K UHD, where it manages upward of 47 FPS even at the Ultra setting. Easing up to medium and low pushes it close to the psychologically pleasing 60 FPS mark. For the RTX 2080, this patch comes as a godsend as 4K UHD is finally playable again provided you set quality to medium or low to keep frame rates above 45 FPS because at High and Ultra, it drops to below 40. 1440p and 1080p are now extremely smooth on the RTX 2080 at all quality levels, and frame rates are stable above 70 FPS. The popular RTX 2070 finally handles 1440p smoothly at all levels and not just the 1080p resolution. For 1080p, frame rates stay above 68 FPS at all quality settings. At 1440p, frame rates range from 54 to 62 FPS depending on the quality level, which is still quite comfortable. 4K UHD is a tough ask. At medium and low settings, the RTX 2070 manages 35 to 40 FPS, which may be fine for single player, but may seem uncomfortable for competitive multiplayer. The ultra and high settings are barely playable. Numbers apart, in our subjective analysis of image quality, which you can take a look at on page 2, we find that visually, there's very little to tell the 4 grades apart. Ultra, high, and medium are very hard to distinguish from each other in most cases. It's only with the low setting that you begin to see slight image quality reduction with the reflections, and even so, only when you look very closely at things, such as reflections of yourself standing point blank in front of a piece of reflective glass or something. Considering the fast-paced action of Battlefield V, it's highly unlikely that you'll ever notice a difference between DXR Ultra and DXR Low in regular gameplay. The difference between DXR Off and DXR On is easily noticeable, however. We couldn't spot any visual downgrades between RTX in the previous version and today's update. Rather, it seems DICE and Nvidia worked on doing things smarter, which is always the better alternative to solving a problem than throwing more hardware at it. We were also pleasantly surprised that any crashes when using RTX are now completely eliminated. The Ultra toggle offers very little by the way of image quality to justify its performance cost over medium, and in most cases even low. We recommend setting RTX to low to enable the ray-traced reflections experience. That's enough to go wow, if not TOMG, while keeping the performance hit low enough for solid gameplay. The day Nvidia and its developer partners managed to bring the performance cost of DXR to below 20% is when RTX will have truly arrived to the scene. Nvidia tells us that they are still working on improving DXR performance, so we might see higher FPS in the near future. Gigabyte prepares Aorus Turbo GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, features blower style cooler. Gigabyte looks to expand their NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti lineup with the Aorus Turbo. This new offering features a blower-style cooler with a plastic shroud and no backplate. Considering the Aorus brand is typically enthusiast-focused along with the fact Gigabyte themselves already offer an RTX 2080 Ti with a blower-style cooler makes the Aorus Turbo a bit of a head-scratcher. Comparing the two shows the plastic shroud has been altered. However, outward appearance aside, it is likely that the Aorus Turbo uses the same cooler as the Gigabyte RTX 2080 Ti Turbo, which features a large vapor chamber cooler paired with a high-efficiency aluminum heatsink. Meanwhile, power delivery is handled by two 8-pin key connectors, which are the standard for RTX 2080 Ti graphics cards. Display connectivity consists of 3 DisplayPort connectors, 1 HDMI connector, and a USB-C connector with virtual link support. Other than that, full specifications and pricing are currently unknown. However, it can be speculated that the Aorus Turbo RTX 2080 Ti will feature stock clocks of 1545 MHz on the core and 14,000 MHz on the memory, with a price that should be close to MSRP, at least in theory. Ripu announces its newest gaming headset, the VH300, exclusive to gamers. Ripu, a leader in wireless peripheral technology, introduces its newest VH300 gaming headset. Designed to make even the most casual gamer feel like a pro, VH300 brings the eternal gaming experience, unbeatable. Sporting the clutter-free and integrated design with cool blue LED backlight, the headset adds a touch of sophistication to gamers' personality. Weighing just 390 grams, the headset is built with 90-degree rotating ear cups to provide hours of comfort for console and PC gaming. The noise-isolating over-ear design sports large and signature memory foam ear cups that are perfect for marathon sessions of gaming. Performing with a customized driver configuration interface, the headset allows the gamer to customize voice modes freely. Its virtual 7.1-channel audio output brings you stunning surround sound experience that delivers crisp highs and rich bass thanks to the dual-chamber technology. The headset also offers a convenient set of features for gameplay, including a swivel to mute the microphone, detachable microphone designed to multifunction, and volume controls on the headset. Engineered to make every minute of gaming real, our newest VH300 headset is designed for gamers across all skill sets, especially the esports athletes. It's the perfect combination of high performance and high quality at the most budgeted prices, says Mr. Mukesh Chaudhary, country head, India and SAARC, Ripu. VH300 headset is multi-platform compatibility, out of the box with PC, Xbox One, PS4, Wii U and mobile devices, backed by a 1-year warranty. To boost or not to boost? South Korea looking to make game boosting illegal. Game boosting refers to the practice of gamers to pay other, more skilled players to boost them up to higher ranks, mainly in competitive multiplayer games. The practice sometimes takes the form of paid partnership with a team of skilled players, where the player that's receiving the boost is of much lower skill, but gets pulled along with the remaining members of the team's efforts, or by actually giving a player access to your account, to play as if he, her was you, and cashing in on his, her better skills. This practice, it goes without saying, goes against the competitive nature of certain games, and if you know your South Koreans, you know they take competitive gaming very, really, very, seriously. This is why the country is seemingly looking to put an illegal tag on game boosting, as in, illegal enough to warrant prosecution and an actual sentence to jail, a maximum prison sentence of 2 years and a fine of 20 million won, $18,000. This isn't something that has been cooked up overnight. An amendment to the law on game business development bill was first proposed earlier this summer, and has now passed the National Assembly Legislation Review Committee, bringing it one step closer to becoming law. TrendForce, shipments of gaming monitors doubled in 2018, market share of curved models to surpass 50% in gaming sector. The gaming market is one with high gross margins in the vast majority of its product lines. This is easily seen with a number of companies that have just slapped the same aesthetic look and gaming branding to otherwise normal product lines. One such instance, in particular, is the gaming monitor segment, where increasing perception of more competitiveness with higher refresh rate monitors has brought about an urge to upgrade in the market, and not the least of which was brought about by games such as PUBG and Fortnite. The former even sparked an upgrade frenzy in China's internet cafes as they vied for ever more customers who would get an edge on their store over others that didn't sport these high refresh rate monitors. According to TrendForce's report, Asus is the worldwide sales leader by the gaming monitor segment, followed by Acer, with Philips coming in a close third. TrendForce reports that the increased demand has seen shipment of gaming grade, or at least branded, monitors has doubled in 2018 compared to last year, and that a sector that has increased significantly is the one of curved monitors, which has been taken up chiefly by Samsung, bringing it to the 4th spot in the manufacturer race. The curved monitor market has achieved a 50% stake in the whole of the gaming monitor, led chiefly by China's demand. TSMC's 7nm production likely to be underutilized in 2019 as smartphone chip demand weakens. DigiTimes, citing a Chinese-language Commercial Times report, cites TSMC's 7nm foundry capacity as likely being underutilized in 2019. After TSMC announced it expected cutting-edge 7nm designs to correspond to around 20% of the company's revenues in 2019, the company will likely have to review those projections, as lower demand from smartphone chip manufacturers will likely leave TSMC with less actual output than that which it can churn out. Due to a cutback in orders placed by Apple, HiSilicon and Qualcomm, concerns regarding TSMC's ability to be the sole 7nm chip fabrication tech for the industry can likely be laid to rest. That the smartphone market is reaching saturation is a well-known quantity. It's becoming harder and harder to cram new technologies that justify the yearly smartphone upgrade that most companies vie for, and one of the reasons for the launch of various brand-specific smartphone subscription services. The difference isn't scandalous. TSMC will still be making use of 80 to 90% of its total 7nm process capacity during the first half of 2019, the report quoted industry sources as saying. Bitfinex launches the new InSO mesh case. Same award-winning design, now available with a mesh front. Originally released this time last year, The Bitfenix INSO was dubbed an extremely stylish MIDI tower offering both tempered glass and fully integrated addressable RGB lighting at a fantastic price point. It's now back, with a fully redesigned mesh front panel and with increased fan capacity. The new mesh panel is perfect for builds featuring overclocked components which demand additional cooling support, but without the need to compromise on the sleek design. Featuring a quick release mechanism and magnetic lock, it's also hassle-free to keep clean. The INSO mesh comes with a 4mm tempered glass side panel, secured by easily removed thumb screws. The interior offers compatibility with many ITX up to eATX format motherboards, with ASUS AuraSync compatible controller support for the latest 3-pin addressable RGB motherboards. When it comes to components, the INSO mesh can fit a full-length 340mm graphics card, with CPU cooler clearance of up to 160mm. There's also built-in cable management, with rubber grommets to ensure a clean build. In terms of air cooling, the Bitfenix INSO comes pre-installed with 1x120mm black fan at the front and an additional 1x120mm RGB static at the back of the case. When looking at water cooling options, the Bitfenix INSO mesh offers two mounts for up to a maximum of 1x360mm front radiator, 35mm, and 1x120mm rear radiator. The Bitfenix INSO has a HDD tray located beneath the PSU shroud with capacity for 2x3.5/2.5 drives, with mounting points for an additional 3x2.5 inches drives concealed just behind the motherboard tray. The front I/O comes with 2x USB 3.0, 1x HD audio ports and an RGB controller that lets you cycle between a variety of preset modes for the front lighting with options for manual control via compatible RGB motherboards. Available for pre-order at Overclockers UK from $84.95. AMD 3rd generation Ryzen probable SKUs, specs, pricing leaked? One of our readers tipped us off with a very plausible looking image that drops a mother load of information about what AMD's 2nd generation Ryzen, aka Ryzen 3000 series, processor lineup could look like. This includes a vast selection of SKUs, their CPU and APU core configurations, clock speeds, and OEM channel pricing. The list speaks of a re-entry for 7th generation A series excavator as Duran X4 series, followed by Duran 300 series based on our highly cut down Raven Ridge, Athlon 300's 2-core/4 thread based on an implausible Zen plus 12nm APU die, followed by quad-core Ryzen 3 3000 series processors with and without IGPIS, making up the company's entry-level product lineup. The core counts seem to jump from 4-core straight to 8-core, with no 6-core in between, for the Ryzen 5 series. This is also where AMD's new IP, the 7nm Zen 2 inches architecture, begins. There appears to be a large APU die, or a 3-chip MCM, with an 8-core CPU and 20 CU APU, which makes up certain Ryzen 5 SKUs. These chips are either 8-core/8 thread or 8-core/16 thread. The Ryzen 7 series is made up of 12-core/24 thread processors that are devoid of APU. The new Ryzen 9 series extension caps off the lineup with 16-core/32 thread SKUs. And these are just socket AM4. 3rd generation Ryzen Threadripper processors will be client segment derivatives of the EPYC Rome MCMs, which combine up to 64 cores across 8-core 7nm CPU chiplets with an I/O die handling a monolithic 8-channel memory interface and key. Threadripper SKUs begin at 24-core/48 thread, and go on to include 32-core/64 thread, 48-core/96 thread, and 64-core/128 thread, across X and WX SKUs. The OEM channel pricing for all these SKUs seem to linearly succeed the current product stack, with the addition of newer SKUs that have no predecessors taking up gaps in the price points. At this point, this picture is either a mother load of information or some fanboy's wet dream. ECS releases the H310X H5T Mini ITX motherboard for Coffee Lake S. ECS has released a brand new mini ITX motherboard that supports 8th gen Intel CPUs in the i3/i5/i7, Pentium and Celeron segments in the form of the H310X H5T. The motherboard is based on Intel's H310 chipset. Since there's no need for a souped-up VRM solution on this motherboard, there's a 4+1 phase affair present. There are two EXODIMM slots with support for up to 32GB of DDR4 2667 memory, one XM.22280 slot for PCIe, SATA SSDs, two SATA 6Gbps connectors, and one XM.2 slot for a Wi-Fi, BT add-in card. I/O-wise, there are one XGB port, RealTK 8111H, one X HDMI 1.4 output, 1x HDMI 1.4 input, 4x USB 3.0 Type-A connectors, 2 internal and 2 external, 2x USB 2.0 Type-A ports, and 2x audio jacks. Audio is powered by RealTK 662 codec and a 6-channel DAC. There's also a 19 VDC input for power delivery straight to the motherboard, and numerous internal headers for expansion, such as a card reader header, a webcam header, a touchboard header, a camera header, and a sensor header, which suggests a highly integrated system that can be more than just a small PC. NVIDIA unveils GeForce GTX 1070 with GDDR5X memory. It looks like NVIDIA bought itself a mountain of unsold GDDR5X memory chips, and is now refreshing its own mountain of unsold GP104 inventory, to make products more presentable to consumers in the wake of its RTX 20 series and real-time ray tracing lure. First, it was the GP104 based GTX 1066GB with GDDR5X memory, and now it's the significantly faster GeForce GTX 1070, which is receiving the newer memory, along with otherwise unchanged specifications. Zotac is among the first NVIDIA add-in card partners ready with one such cards, the GTX 1070 AMP Extreme Core GDDR5X model, ZTP10700Q10P. Much like the GTX 1066GB GDDR5X, this otherwise factory overclocked Zotac card sticks to a memory clock speed of 8.00 GHz, despite using GDDR5X memory chips that are rated for 10 Gbps. It features 8 GB of it across the chip's full 256-bit memory bus width. The GPU is factory overclocked by Zotac to tick at 1607 MHz, with 1797 MHz GPU boost, which are below the clock speeds of the GDDR5 AMP Extreme SKU, that has not just higher 1805 MHz GPU boost frequency, but also overclocked memory at 8.20 GHz. Out of the box, this card's performance shouldn't be distinguishable from the GDDR5 AMP core, but the memory alone should serve up a significant overclocking headroom. Ragentek intros MyRBW CPU Cooler. Ragentek today introduced the MyRBW, a large aluminium fin tower type CPU cooler with addressable RGB embellishments. The cooler was first shown off at Computex 2018. Its design involves a heavy aluminium fin stack with ridged fins that have increased surface area over flat fins, capped off by a composite top, with a silicone RGB LED diffuser, and a brushed metal top plate. Heat drawn by 6.6mm thick nickel-plated copper heat pipes pass through the fin stack. At the base, these heat pipes make direct contact with the CPU. A 13mm thick slimline hydraulic bearing 120mm fan compensates for the fin stack's thickness, as does the vertical offset in the fin stack itself, freeing up room near your motherboard's memory slot area. The fan spins between 200 to 1400 RPM, pushing up to 41.71 CFM and a 28.43 dB minimum noise level. Measuring 130mm by 86mm by 163mm, WXDSH, the cooler weighs about 925 grams, including the fan. Among the CPU sockets supported are Intel UGA 2066, UGA 115X, and AM4. The company didn't reveal pricing. OWC introduces new dual drive dock with USB-C 10 Gbps. OWC announced today the availability of its refreshed OWC Drive Dock. Designed to be the ultimate high-performance tool for creative workflows, backup or other tasks requiring constant access to multiple drives, the OWC Drive Dock delivers a compact and easy solution with exceptional performance. The OWC Drive Dock supports up to 2 simultaneous drives and connects to any Mac or PC with the latest USB-C or Thunderbolt 3 port for data rates of up to 981 megabytes per second, or connects to any Mac or PC with an available standard USB port for data rates of up to 522 megabytes per second. This new dock can support both 2.5-inch drives, 3.5-inch drives, a combination of both, and can even RAID drives together for data redundancy or performance. The OWC Drive Dock includes an auto-switching internal power supply compatible with a standard dual-prong power cable and no extra power block. The new OWC Drive Dock is excellent at home while being robust and rugged enough for professionals with demands for heavy drive swapping, data ingestion, or as an on-location backup solution. Like all OWC products, the OWC Drive Dock is built to the highest standards of reliability and performance, is rigorously quality tested, and backed by OWC's 2-year warranty and 24/7 customer support. The OWC Drive Dock is available now through OWC for the price of $119. The USB-C Drive Dock is the latest addition to OWC's line of drive dock options, starting at $59.99. Western Digital delivers new SWR-V Core RISC-V processor. Western Digital Corporation today announced at the RISC-V Summit 3 new open-source innovations designed to support Western Digital's internal RISC-V development efforts and those of the growing RISC-V ecosystem. In his keynote address, Western Digital's Chief Technology Officer Martin Fink unveiled plans to release a new open-source RISC-V Core, an open standard initiative for cache-coherent memory over a network, and an open-source RISC-V instruction set simulator. These innovations are expected to accelerate development of new open, purpose-built compute architectures for big data and fast data environments. Western Digital has taken an active role in helping to advance the RISC-V ecosystem, including multiple related strategic investments and partnerships, and demonstrated progress toward its stated goal of transitioning 1 billion of the company's processor cores to the RISC-V architecture. As big data and fast data continues to proliferate, purpose-built technologies are essential for unlocking the true value of data across today's wide-ranging data-centric applications, said Fink. Our SWR-V Core and the new Cache Coherency Fabric initiative demonstrate the significant possibilities that can be realized by bringing data closer to processing power. These planned contributions to the open source community and continued commitment of the RISC-V initiative offer exciting potential to accelerate collaborative innovation and data-driven discoveries. RISC-V is an open, scalable instruction set architecture that enables the diversity of big data and fast data applications and workloads proliferating in core data centers and in remote and mobile systems at the edge. It provides an alternative to current, standard, general-purpose compute architectures. With RISC-V, open standard interfaces can be utilized to enable specialty processing, memory-centric solutions, unique storage and flexible interconnect applications. Western Digital is planning to open source its new RISC-V SWR-V Core, which has a two-way superscalar design. Western Digital's RISC-V SWR-V Core is a 32-bit, 9-stage pipeline core that allows several instructions to be loaded at once and execute simultaneously, shortening the time taken to run programs. It is a compact, in-order core and runs at 4.9 core marks/MHz1. Its power-efficient design offers clock speeds of up to 1.8 GHz1 on a 28mm CMOS process technology. The company plans to use the SWR-V Core in various internal embedded designs, including flash controllers and SSDs. Open sourcing the core is expected to drive development of new data-centric applications such as Internet of Things, IoT, secure processing, industrial controls and more. Western Digital's OmniStand is a new open approach to providing cache-coherent memory over an Ethernet fabric. This memory-centric system architecture provides open standard interfaces for access and data sharing across processors, machine learning accelerators, GPUs, FPGAs and other components. It is an open solution for efficiently attaching persistent memory to processors and offers potential support of future advanced fabrics that connect compute, storage, memory and I/O components. Western Digital also introduced today its open source SWARV Instruction Set Simulator, ISS, which offers full test bench support for use with RISC-V cores. An ISS is a computer program that simulates the execution of instructions of a processor. It allows external events to be modeled, such as interrupts and bus errors, and assures the RISC-V core is functioning properly. The company utilized the SWARV ISS to rigorously simulate and validate the SWARV core, with more than 10 billion instructions executed. Western Digital expects both the SWARV core and SWARV ISS will help to accelerate the industry's move to an open source instruction set architecture. Speeds, feeds, and brute compute is no longer the winning formula for edge and endpoint computing. As more data moves to the edge for real-time processing and inferencing, configurable architectures will be better suited to meet the needs of heavy and often dynamic application workloads, especially for those driven by artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, said Mario Morales, Program Vice President, Enabling Technologies and Semiconductors, IDC. Power efficiency, configurability, and low power will become the key metrics for edge and endpoint computing architectures. InWin launches Z-Tower Signature Edition PC chassis, pure, architectural art in EATX. We already covered InWin's Z-Tower PC chassis back when it was showcased on the floor of Computex, and made it its crown jewel. InWin has now announced availability of this 8th generation signature chassis, limited and numbered, with its 5mm aluminum alloy. Crafting this baby is as much a work of art as it is powered by engineering, as InWin's craftsmen pour the molten aluminum into sandcasts to form the shaped sides. Each is then polished meticulously with a CNC mill to ensure the outer face embodies an exquisite finish. The 40 kg signature case, whose specs you can read more in the linked article, can be yours for an expected more than $10,000 pricing. InWin launches Crown Series RGB modular 120, 140mm case fans. InWin Development Incorporated, InWin, a leading innovator in PC design, has launched its latest Crown Series case fans. The Crown Series is a turbine-inspired high-static pressure fan, 1.87mm H2O. Available in both AC 120, 120mm, and AC 140, 140mm, sizes. The surrounding circular casing is tapered outwards at the edge to reduce noise, allows more airflow and provides a more attractive overall lighting effect. The AC 120 features 9 clear blades, while the AC 140 possesses 11 blades. The corner mounting system incorporates 4 shock-proof rubber pads to eliminate any vibration transfer to the chassis. The Crown Series offers innovative features such as a patented modular cable design that allows daisy chaining the crown fans together to simplify cable management and speed up the setup process. It's ideal for fans placed together in arrays such as top-to-bottom panel coverage or water cooling radiators, allowing them to sync and reduce the number of motherboard fan headers required. 6 central RGB LEDs are controlled by an independent IC, allowing fully customizable and addressable RGB lighting effects that shine outwards into the frosted blades. An addressable cable is supplied that attaches to the 3-pin addressable RGB headers on compatible motherboards to sync and operate with their software and control the lighting effects. In the Crown Twin Pack, an RGB modular controller is supplied to enable control of the color effects independently. The wide operating range, 501,600 RPM, and low power use, max 2.16 watts, means the Crown series is ideal for a range of applications or PC systems that require anything from silent operation, 14.7 decibels, to high performance, 53.07 CFM, while its long life sleeve bearings and ultra-high build quality, PBT/PC, with a leading 60 km TBF. Epic Games Store to launch soon, developers to receive 88% of revenue. With more and more companies creating their very own digital storefronts in the PC gaming space, it was only a matter of time until Epic Games threw their hat into the ring. With an announcement posted today, by Tim Sweeney, the Epic Games Store is now officially a reality. The new digital storefront will be made available for PC and Mac to start with, while other platforms will be added throughout 2019. In regards to games available on the platform, Epic will offer Fortnite alongside a set of hand-curated titles at launch. What those games might be is currently unknown. Delivering a shot across the bow at Steam and their 30% revenue cut, Epic's Game Store will instead only take 12%, resulting in developers earning 88% of sales revenue. If they are using Unreal Engine, the 5% engine royalty will be waived by Epic and instead is factored into their original 12% take. Putting that into perspective, an Unreal Engine-based game released on Steam currently gives developers only 65% of the revenue, with Steam earning 30% and Epic 5% due to engine royalties. Going from 65% to 88% is a significant increase in earnings, and it doesn't matter what game engine a developer uses, the revenue split will remain the same. This should leave developers quite happy since they are not limited by game engine choice, and Epic benefits from a vastly increased selection of titles they can offer in their digital store. Epic looks to give developers far more freedom with their digital platform as well. Offering access to their 10,000-strong Epic Games Support, a creator program that is designed to get a developer's games into the hands of YouTube content creators, Twitch streamers, etc. They even go so far as to cover the first 5% of creator revenue sharing costs for the first 24 months. Better yet, while it's an option, it is not mandatory, thus giving developers options that best suit their needs without forcing a one-size-fits-all approach. Developers are also given complete control over their game pages and news feeds, with no other advertisements or marketing of competing titles. Overall, it appears Epic is ready to take a slice of the digital pie and has prepared for some time to do just that. The only real problem will be converting users away from Steam. While EA's Origin platform has had some success, it has also been around for 7 years at this point. Meanwhile, Ubisoft has a weird amalgamation of Steam and Uplay, that is somewhat separate from their standalone Uplay store, which, when you consider the issues associated with it, comes off as being a complete mess. Therefore, while it seems the Epic Games Store is primed for success, it's all about gaining users, and while Fortnite is a phenomenon, it remains to be seen if it will be enough to convert a legion of followers into using the Epic Games Store instead of Steam.